Right now, governments and private investors are pouring trillions of dollars into the artificial intelligence transition. But if you map where that capital lands, you find a massive structural blind spot. The focus is almost exclusively on two extremes: massive corporations attempting to modernize, or brand new venture startups trying to build the next tech giant. This chart visualizes that investment reality. On the left, large-scale enterprise transformations face a documented 70% failure rate, largely due to internal friction. On the right, new startups reveal similar volatility, showing only a 35% 10-year survival rate. Innovation ecosystems are continually directing immense resources into these two company structures, even though historical data proves both are mathematically prone to failure during structural technology shifts. Sitting directly between the struggling enterprise and the fragile startup is a dense network of small and medium businesses. Across OECD countries, these companies employ 2 out of 3 workers and account for more than half of all value added. To be precise, the opportunity lies specifically with established, owner-managed companies, typically operating with 10 to 250 employees. They have proven offerings, real customers, and an actively involved leader. These owner-managed SMEs represent the highest leverage, most structurally advantaged intervention point for adopting agentic AI into the real economy. We can analyze the mechanics of business execution to see exactly why these traditional operations hold a structural advantage over heavily funded tech startups and massive enterprise boards. Ignoring this middle layer is a strategic error. When regions fail to prioritize the AI transition for their established businesses, they directly risk their local economic competitiveness and long-term sovereignty. To understand which companies are actually positioned to scale agentic AI workflows, we can plot organizational structure against 3 specific axes. The first axis is operational reality. This measures existing economic substance, stable revenue, active processes, and established trust with a real customer base. The second axis is decision concentration. This evaluates whether a leader has the direct authority and speed to implement new systems without institutional bureaucracy or long approval cycles. The third axis is contextual knowledge. This represents the deep, integrated mental map of how a business actually functions, the operational bottlenecks, the supplier exceptions, and the unwritten informal rules of the market. If we map startups on this framework, we see highly concentrated decision-making, but because they are starting from zero, they fail the operational reality test. They lack the historical data and established customer trust required to deploy operational AI immediately. Conversely, large enterprises plot perfectly on massive operational reality, yet they fail on the other 2 axes. Contextual knowledge is siloed across different departments, and decision-making is paralyzed by complex procurement rules and legacy processes. The established owner-managed SME sits perfectly in the center. This specific archetype successfully lights up all 3 axes of the matrix simultaneously. The single owner-manager typically holds thousands of integrated micro-decisions in their head. They know exactly which processes are broken and what their customers actually need, giving them the agency to apply AI to real workflows immediately, without waiting for board approval. This intersection of authority and context allows the SME to completely bypass the friction that stalls corporate projects, while entirely avoiding the brutal market discovery risks that kill most startups. No other structure has this combination. The owner-managed SME is the only economic archetype possessing both the necessary economic substance and the immediate agility to weaponize agentic AI. This structural advantage is already visible at the absolute frontier of global venture capital. Y Combinator recently issued a specific request for founders, directing them to build what they call AI-native service companies. The mandate is clear. Startups are no longer being funded simply to sell software tools to other businesses. They are being funded to bypass software sales entirely and directly attack mature, traditional service sectors, from logistics to professional consulting. This dynamic represents a shift toward delivery model innovation. In this model, the core physical product or the expert advice remains identical. What is completely rebuilt is the operational pipeline surrounding it: how a customer discovers the service, requests a quote, coordinates the execution, and receives support. A traditional pipeline is heavy with administrative friction, manual emails, and delayed scheduling. Rebuilding this with an agentic AI operating layer strips out the human friction, creating a rapid, continuous automated flow. We have seen this exact pattern before. Companies like Uber did not invent the taxi ride, and food apps did not invent the restaurant meal. Those platforms dominated mature markets by replacing the delivery layer of an already proven service with a vastly superior digital experience. Agentic AI democratizes that exact delivery disruption model. The same operational advantage is now available to standard B2B providers and local professional service firms. This creates an immediate existential threat to traditional SMEs. A new AI-native entrant does not need to train better plumbers or invent better legal advice. They only need a frictionless, automated delivery layer to outcompete traditional operators on speed and client experience. Foreign competitors can deploy this same technology to bypass geographic distance. AI-driven localization allows them to effortlessly enter local markets that were previously protected by high administrative costs and language barriers. In regions like Europe, this disruption is actively shaped by complex regulatory frameworks, such as the EU AI Act. While that legislation includes dedicated support measures like regulatory sandboxes to assist SMEs, statutory compliance alone cannot protect a company burdened by an outdated delivery model. Local market dominance is no longer protected by geography. Traditional businesses must aggressively upgrade their delivery layers before an AI-native entrant uses technology to replace them from the outside. If an owner-managed SME adopts agentic AI early, they transition from a vulnerable local operator into a highly scalable economic asset. The mechanics begin when the owner externalizes their tacit, bottled-up operational knowledge, structuring it into a shared digital AI layer that the entire company can access. This unlocks the globally local expansion concept. A historically regional business suddenly gains the capability to cross international borders. By using an AI delivery layer to handle multilingual support and localized routing, the business neutralizes traditional barriers, achieving frictionless geographical expansion. They gain the capacity to operate internationally while simultaneously maintaining the localized trust and high responsiveness that regional customers demand. One specific mechanism for this growth is AI-driven franchising. This allows a company to scale without building a bloated, centralized corporate bureaucracy. The SME scales a proven business model by empowering independent local human operators with an AI-standardized knowledge and compliance layer. To make this transition happen at scale, economic development units, venture investors, and national innovation ecosystems must recognize the opportunity. International economic policy bodies and regional strategists need to urgently pivot their resource allocation. Ecosystem builders must stop treating established SMEs as static, legacy entities, sitting completely outside the technological innovation loop. Instead, these established businesses must be prioritized as the primary testbeds for real-world AI application, forming the frontline defense against foreign AI-native disruption. The true economic engines of the AI era will not be built from scratch in startup incubators. They will be traditional, owner-managed SMEs evolving into globally local scale-ups.